Good morning and glad to have you join us on News Bites live broadcast. This is the compilation of topical issues, news headlines making round in Nigeria. My name is Oluwa Mayomikun. It's always a pleasure to bring you this service. Thank you for joining us. Today is Monday, the 16th of October 2017. Please permit me to share this on my timeline as I always do so that my friends can also avail themselves of this robust package of news items making rounds in our nation. We also join you to help us share this broadcast so that many people can be exposed to it, many people can see what is going on. And as soon as I share that my timeline now, we can then start our broadcast. We have a very robust package for you today. We've gone around town, or let me say around the nation, to get all the juicy news stories that would inform you and start your day right today. So just a moment, I share this on my timeline and then we're good to go. Welcome. Okay, we'll just take a few seconds. It won't take up to, let's say, 60 seconds to get this shared on my timeline. And as soon as I do that, we go on with our news broadcast. Thank you for joining us. You can also, all right, I'm almost there. Share. There's a share button between, after comment. You also can click that share button and share it to your friends that are connected to you. All right. Okay. Yep. All right. So I've shared now. I think we can go ahead. Excuse me. With our broadcast. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Kingdom Summit 2017 of the Redeemed Christian Church of God blamed churches for not speaking out against corruption. Osinbajo, who was at the King's Court Parish, Victoria Island, Lagos on Sunday, remarked that corruption in the country still exists because the church has failed to speak against it. They failed to speak against graft simply because those involved in graft have relationships with churches. Osinbajo also urged Christians against tribe or other differences. He also advised the faithful to avoid divisive issues as much as they did vengeance, as the gospel did not give Christians the power to harbor hatred. According to him, when the disciple Stephen was killed, if the apostle Okay, the internet went off at some point there. Okay, I think we're back now. Okay, okay, is the internet back? All right, let's see whether the internet is back. Okay, it looks like it's back. It should be stable. Please be stable. Okay, I think so. Okay, let me take that news item all over again so it's not disjointed. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Kingdom Summit 2017 of the Redeemed Christian Church of God blamed churches for not speaking against corruption. Osinbajo, who was at the King's Court Parish, Victoria Island, Lagos, on Sunday, remarked that corruption in the country still exists because the church has failed to speak out against it. They failed to speak against graft simply because those who are involved in graft have relationships with churches. Osinbajo also urged Christians against putting tribe above other things. He said that at creation there was no difference in the nature of man and everyone related in an atmosphere devoid of tribe or other differences. He also advised the faithful to avoid divisive issues as much as they did to foolish disputes. Osinbajo added that it is wrong to seek vengeance as the gospel did not give Christians the power to harbor hatred. According to him, when the disciple Stephen was killed, if the apostles had retaliated, that would not have been the gospel. He said God had a purpose for Nigeria with the kind of persons in authority, but he warned that the strategic position God has placed the leaders will be meaningless if they fail to live by the gospel. The vice president, who titled his remark "Neither Jew nor Gentile," noted that the gospel of the Lord is transformational, meant to turn the marketplace around by uniting God's people. According to Oshibajo, the only way to transform the nation is to obey the gospel, and to do so, that citizens must free themselves from the canal and simply return to the gospel in their practices. The vice president points out that the Bible is not just a book, but the wisdom of God, which cannot be trampled upon, while noting that the power of the church lays in its unity. Oshibajo prayed for the country and the people and asked God to grant Nigerians faithfulness to him and give everyone the grace to avoid every form of disunity. The presidency on Sunday said no contract worth $25 billion was awarded by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. It also says that the $25 billion is not missing in the corporation. Oluwa Mayomikun, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity Office of the Vice President, stated this in a statement in Abuja. According to him, no contract was procured by the NNPC based on the leaked memo of Petroleum Resources Minister of State Ibe Kachuku, even though such impressions have been maliciously created in the past few weeks. Akode disclosed that a close look at each of the said projects indicates clearly that they are not procurement contracts. He said a diligent look at the reference projects and transactions one by one revealed that, as NNPC has shown, none of them was actually a procurement contract. I quote him now: "Take the crude term contract and direct sale, direct purchase agreements, for instance. They are not procurement contracts involving the expenditure of public funds. Both transactions are simply a shortlisting process in which prospective off-takers of crude oil and suppliers of petroleum are selected under agreed terms and in accordance with due process." The vice presidential spokesman recalled that the petroleum minister himself had in fact clarified that he meant to focus on administrative and governance issues, not red flag any fraud, because no fraud exists in this matter. For both transactions, Akode reiterated that it is falsehood and also inaccurate to attach $10 billion and $5 billion values on them. He said Nigerians should be informed clearly that whenever there is monetary value on any crude oil lifted in a country, the proceeds go directly to the Federation account and not to any company. Akode also explained that in compiling the shortlist for prospective off-takers of crude oil and suppliers of petroleum under agreed terms, there were public placements of adverts in the mass media seeking expressions of interest. He also said that bids were publicly opened in the presence of NAITI, DPR, BPP, civil society groups and the media, and in some cases even these events were televised live. Akode said it is important to set the record straight that the list of approved off-takers does not carry any financial values, but simply states the terms and conditions for the lifting and supply of petroleum products. He also said that the Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano gas pipeline contract was a contractor-financed job which has not been finalized or awarded. According to him, it is still making its way to the Federal Executive Council. On Nigeria Petroleum Development Company, Akode said there is no contract in the $3 billion to $4 billion range as reported in some media. Jalal Arabi, the permanent secretary, State House, has refuted media report suggesting that the State House Medical Center received 11.01 billion naira as appropriation between 2015 and 2017. Arabi's refutal is contained in a statement by Atta Essa, the Deputy Director Information in the State House, Abuja, on Sunday. According to him, out of the total capital appropriation of 2.9 billion naira and recurrent appropriation of 465.9 million naira for the period under reference, only the sum of 969.6 million naira, representing 32.97% for capital, and 225.5 million naira, representing 48.41% for recurrent, was actually released. He also revealed that there was zero capital allocation for the medical center in 2017, while out of the 331.7 million naira being recurrent appropriation for 2017, the actual amount released up to September is 91.3 million naira, representing 27.5%. The permanent secretary emphasized that these figures are verifiable from the Ministries of Finance, Budget and National Planning. He added that the center had also continued to execute ongoing projects. Arabi stressed that apart from the presidency, other beneficiaries of the free services include political appointees, the military, paramilitary, other security agencies, members of the National Assembly, and the general public. The State House Medical Center has come under serious criticisms from different quarters over lack of drugs and equipment at the facility. Recall that House of Representatives had on October 12th inaugurated an ad hoc committee to investigate the condition of the medical center. The House set up the committee following a motion raised by Henry Achibong from Akwa Ibom at the plenary on Thursday, alleging that despite huge budgetary allocations, the clinic lacked necessary facilities, drugs, and other consumables. The wife of the president also, if you recall, Aisha Buhari, on October 9, had criticized the management of the facility and called for a probe of the center. She lamented the poor state of health facilities in the hospital despite the huge budgetary allocation to it. However, Arabi, in an earlier statement on October 2nd, said the State House Medical Center will be commercialized and repositioned to offer qualitative and efficient services. Okay, just give me a moment to get some natural light since they're keeping light. Okay, back now. All right, visibility is better. Minister of State for Education, Professor Anthony Anwuka, who was flown to the United States for medical treatment, came back on Sunday after spending 27 days. Anwuka, who arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 6 p.m., told journalists that he did not receive any funds from the federal government, but was sponsored by his son, a doctor in Dallas, USA. The news of the alien minister flown to the U.S. was first confirmed by the Minister of Education, Adamu, who asked prayers be said for Anwuka during a briefing in Abuja 2 weeks ago. Anwuka on Sunday said he was diagnosed of having high cholesterol level and applied to the federal government to leave on September 18. There was support. Well, I'm quoting him now. I said, there was no support from the federal government. I did not ask for it. I only applied for my leave and left. Maybe now that I'm back, I could ask. Anyway, trust journalists, they were asking him, did the federal government sponsor this? Did they give you money? All right, Minister of Finance Kemi Adeosun on Sunday said the nation must borrow more in the short term to deliver critical infrastructural projects such as roads, rail, and power. According to her, Nigeria currently has one of the lowest debt to gross domestic product figures in the world, and the administration and the administration has no plan to go into massive borrowing that it cannot sustain. Adeosun spoke at a press conference marking the conclusion of the 2017 World Bank International Monetary Fund annual meetings in Washington, D.C., USA. However, the minister said the Ministry of Finance has rejected loan requests by some state governments to ensure the country has good debt sustainability figure. She also said the federal government has a strategic plan to reduce borrowing, and this is why the government has embarked on various tax mobilization initiatives, including the voluntary assets and income declaration, which she notes are gaining traction. She also said that plans are underway to get the National Assembly's approval to refinance some of the Naira debt into external borrowing. Also speaking at the press briefing, the Governor Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, said the CBN is paying close attention to banks in order to ensure that no bank fails. He said if any bank should fail, the economy will be drastically affected, and as such, the CBN is putting measures in place to ensure the banks are healthy. According to him, the fundamentals of the foreign exchange market show that there is a lot of stability in the forex market, having come down from the high level to the current exchange rate. The 36 states shared 173.8 billion naira from the Federation account in September from the distributable revenue generated for the month. The breakdown was obtained in a report from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation in Abuja. The funds are usually shared from the preceding month after the preceding month of generation. For example, revenue generated in January is shared in February. Thus, the revenue shared was actually generated in August and shared in September. The key agencies that remit funds into the Federation account are the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), the Federal Inland Revenue Services, and the Nigeria Customs Service. At the last Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting in September, federal, states, and local governments shared 637.7 billion naira. The report showed that the revenue distributed include the gross statutory revenue, value-added tax, exchange gains, and petroleum profit tax. Before distribution to the states, their liabilities were first deducted. The liabilities include a total external debt of 2.67 billion naira, contractual obligations of 9.58 billion naira, and other deductions amounting to 18.2 billion naira. The report also showed that the other deductions cover national water rehabilitation projects, national agricultural technology support, salary bailout, payment for fertilizer, state water supply project, state agricultural project, and national Fadama project. Well, after the broadcast, we would upload the details, more details of this on the timeline, so you can watch, so you can read and then be informed. Nigeria has launched a bid for re-election into the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva for the 2018 to 2020 term at an election scheduled for today, Monday, at the UN headquarters, New York. Ambassador Audu Kadiri, the ambassador and permanent representative of Nigeria to the UN office, and other international organizations in Geneva stated this in New York at a reception and a party to launch Nigeria's re-election bid. UNHRC is a UN system intergovernmental body responsible for promoting and protecting human rights around the world. It re-elected Nigeria, currently serving out its 2015 to 2017 term, will be among the 4 countries representing West Africa and the 13 countries representing Africa in the 47-seat council. President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has called for international conference on Northeast and Boko Haram threats in Nigeria. He made the call during the general debate at the 137th Interparliamentary Union Assembly on Sunday at St. Petersburg, Russia. Saraki, who lamented the havoc caused by insecurity in the region, said while the Nigerian government is doing its best to tackle the problem, the international interventions are necessary. According to him, convening an international conference like the one convened in London on Somalia and Syria will go a long way in finding lasting solutions to the problem in the region. He added that Nigeria's northeast region has suffered terribly as a result of the onslaught of Boko Haram insurgents, with 2 million Nigerians internally displaced and fled to even neighboring countries like the Lake Chad region, where 4.4 million people are threatened by food insecurity. He disclosed that of the fund needed to address the problem, less than half have been realized. The UN also describing the situation in the Lake Chad region as the most neglected humanitarian crisis in the world. Saraki added that the 8th National Assembly is at the forefront of improved coordination efforts to overcome institutional and logistic impediments in the way of getting aid for those in need. Saraki further pointed out the need for government to attend to challenges in other parts of the country for sustainable peace. According to him, According to him, Plateau in the Middle Belt region of Nigeria has been faced with ethnic and religious conflicts with more than 7,000 people killed in the last decade. He said that the challenge of climate change led to the shrinking of the Lake Chad, which could no longer sustain thousands of displaced persons camped along its receding banks, especially in the north of Nigeria. He emphasized, among other things, the need to tackle youth unemployment, poverty, religious intolerance, and marginalization, which were major factors of restiveness in the country. Saraki also expressed concern over increased cases of hate speeches directed at those who were considered to be different in culture, tradition, and religion. He said there are rising inter-ethnic clashes with many recorded fatalities and communities displayed. He added that the diverse cultural, traditional, and religious practice across Africa that ought to be its source of strength has turned out to be a threat to its existence. According to him, the situation has led to bloodletting like the case of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. He added that Nigeria has also experienced a civil war and lately experiencing increased spate of hate speeches and ethnic conflict, which is threatening the unity of the country. He, however, expressed optimism that the 137th IPU will offer lasting solutions to growing world conflicts. The World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, has advised the federal government to engage developing partners in rebuilding health systems in the northeast of the country. She gave the advice at the weekend during a two-day working visit to the country. While commending the government for its emergency response in the zone, she said it is time to involve development-focused partners and transit from emergency to the phase of rebuilding. She advised government to add the revitalization of primary healthcare program of the Federal Ministry of Health, rebuild infrastructure, mobilize community and health workers, among others, saying it will provide Nigeria with a better health system in the near future. She also commended the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, for his vision and determination in mobilizing local and international partners towards addressing health emergencies and diseases outbreak in the country. The minister said Moeti's visit, that's Professor Adewale now, said Moeti's visit is timely as it came when the country is addressing monkeypox outbreak, yellow fever outbreak, and containment efforts against polio, among others, saying all advice and recommendations will be implemented to the letter. To support inclusive economic development and youth development in Nigeria, the World Bank Group says it has an investment portfolio of about $8.5 billion scattered across several states and regions in Nigeria. Senior Communications Officer, World Bank Nigeria, Olufunke Olufun, in a statement on Sunday said the investment is to assist the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory to reduce poverty and foster prosperity for all Nigerians. This is coming after concerns were raised by Nigerians over the comment by the World Bank President, Jim Yong Kim, that President Buhari asked the bank to shift its intervention focus to the northeastern states of Nigeria. Olufun said that the World Bank is also working with federal and state governments and development partners on speeding delivery of critical interventions to the people of the Northeast who urgently need assistance. Olufun also notes that the World Bank Group is doubling its resources to address fragility, conflict, and violence at the subnational and national levels and help stabilize places affected by high poverty and influx of people. The Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, on Sunday said it apprehended and referred 4,000 traffic offenders for psychological evaluation in the last 3 months to enforce sanity on FCT roads. The new sector commander in the FCT, Ayuba Wobin, made this known when he visited FCT Minister Mohammed Bello at his residence in Abuja. Wobin assured FCT residents of the command's preparedness to ensure safety on the roads, especially in the ember months. The FCT minister expressed concern over the spate of violation of traffic regulations and the challenge of traffic management in Abuja, which he said informed the appointment of new Secretary of Transport Kayode Okwefa. Recall that Okwefa served as commissioner in Lagos State for some years. Gunmen on Saturday attacked the residence of former Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Kumasi, killing a mobile policeman and injuring another. It was learned that two attackers on a motorcycle opened fire on the two policemen stationed at the gate of the residence at about 8 p.m. but did not gain entrance into the house. The attackers were, however, said to have escaped with the rifle of one of the policemen. A neighbor revealed that the former IGP and his family members are safe. The corpse of the policeman has been deposited at the mortuary of Katsina General Hospital, where the other injured mobile policeman is receiving treatment. Katsina Police spokesman Issa Gambo said the command is conducting investigation on the matter. Meanwhile, the police command in Anambra said it has killed two suspected kidnappers and rescued a victim. PPRO in the state, in Keru, Nwode made this disclosure on Saturday in Oka while addressing newsmen. Nwode said the victim, simply identified as Nnamdi, was kidnapped on October 11 at a filling station at Obusi near Onitsha by four armed hoodlums. According to her, 20 million naira was demanded as ransom, but the detectives attached to Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the command trailed them as they were coming to collect the ransom on October 13. Nwode revealed that as the hoodlums got to know where they were being trailed, they launched an attack on the police, but two of the kidnappers were killed while others escaped with bullet wounds. She said exhibits recovered from the suspects include one locally made pistol with 2 live cartridges, one cut-to-size single barrel gun, one unregistered Q-Link motorcycle, and a cell phone. Sorry, excuse me. I had cold earlier in the day, so. Dr. Andy Ehanire, the abducted brother of Minister of State for Health, has regained freedom from the hands of his abductors. Police PPRO in Edo State, Mrs. Nkobe, who confirmed the release of Ehanire on Sunday, said the feat followed concerted efforts by police operatives as constant change in locations of the abductors delayed the quick release of Ehanire. The PPRO was, however, silent on whether any ransom was paid to the abductors before the release. He also disclosed that the kidnapped musician Osayomore Joseph is yet to be released by his captors. He explained that the command has deployed tactical teams with necessary technical strategies to ensure the release of the musician, stressing that the abductors have already established contact with the victim's family. Ehanire, the chief executive officer of Ogbazu and Nature Park in Benin, was said to have been released at an undisclosed location in Warri, Delta State. Meanwhile, Ehanire has since reunited with members of his family. He was abducted on September 24 at his place of work, while the 3 policemen who were there were shot dead. Plateau State Command yesterday confirmed 6 people dead and 5 others injured in the Saturday night attack on Tagbi, a village in Bassa local government area of the state. The state police PRO Tana Taupev disclosed in Jos that the attackers who invaded the village at 12 midnight also burnt down 10 houses. The killings took place a day after Governor Simon Lalong imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew on the local government area as part of measures to curtail the attacks on the villagers. Lalong had said that the action became necessary in view of recurring incidents of attacks in the area. Among those killed were 5 adults and a teenager. A witness on the Yari told newsmen who visited the scene that the attackers came with sophisticated weapons and moved from one house to another, unleashing mayhem on the locals. They also razed down a lot of houses and destroyed properties worth millions of naira. Yari wondered why the attacks were being casually carried out in spite of the dusk-to-dawn curfew imposed on the local government area by the Plateau State government. The Plateau State Commissioner of Police, Ude Adie, who visited Tagbi later on Sunday, described the attack as very unfortunate. Those killed have been buried while the injured were taken to Inos Hospital, Miango, in Bassa local government area. Indigenous people of Biafra has asked parents in the southeast region to send back their children and word to school after last Wednesday's pandemonium following alleged military monkeypox vaccination on pupils in the area. Since the rumor of the monkeypox scare went viral on social media, most schools in the area had been on the lock, while others recorded low turnout as parents are still skeptical over the incident. But in a statement on Sunday by IPOB's Media and Publicity Secretary Ima Powerful, the group said there is no cause for alarm as security measures have been put in place for the safety of the children. The group said the children are important to them and as such will not relent in sacrificing their lives on a daily basis in pursuit of Biafra that they will be proud of. It added that IPOB will continue to monitor the situation in the southeast, particularly in Anambra State, to ensure that nothing untoward happened to the children in the hands of those it called the enemies of Biafra. Meanwhile, a civil society organization, the Civil Society Network Against Corruption, on Sunday berated the governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, for playing host to the president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma. The group, in a statement posted by its chairman, Olanrewaju Suraju, condemned Okorocha for not only directing an Imo monarch to confer a traditional title on Zuma, but also unveiling a giant statue of the South African leader in a conspicuous place in Owerri. The group, which notes that Zuma has been indicted for corruption in South Africa, expressed strong displeasure at the heroic treatment given to him by Okorocha, describing the governor's gesture as an embarrassment to the All Progressive Congress, which is fighting corruption. He said it is unconscionable that Okorocha would treat Zuma to such a lavish celebration when the citizens of his country are displeased with him over alleged corruption and are demanding his resignation. The group said it is particularly miffed that Okorocha allowed Zuma to address a group of selected secondary school pupils and other young people in Imo State. It wondered whether by so doing, Okorocha was celebrating corruption since Zuma had been found guilty of corruption by courts in South Africa and has been ordered to refund the $500,000 stolen from the public treasury to expand his private house to accommodate his many wives. The group said the APC-led federal government should have cautioned Okorocha and advised him not to celebrate corruption, stressing that the governor must tender a public apology to Nigerians. The group also lashed out at ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo for receiving Zuma in Imo. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki has visited the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library at Abeokuta, Ogun State. Mbeki, who arrived with the Consul General of South Africa in Nigeria, Daki, Africa, about 11 a.m. on Sunday, urged African leaders to emulate the library's chief promoter and Nigeria's former president Olusegun Obasanjo in preserving African heritage. After being conducted around the various departments of the library complex, including the Wildlife Park, the museum, and the Plastic Bottles Recycling Center, Mbeki said he is excited and commended Obasanjo for the feat. The former South African president disclosed that he was in Lagos for a meeting and decided to visit the library, which his friend Obasanjo had told him about. President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami have asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to strike out all suits seeking the removal of the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, from office. The AGF took the legal position backing Magu's appointment despite the reported strained relationship between the minister and the acting EFCC chairman. There are also said to be pending 7 suits filed in support and against of Magu's appointment following the refusal of the Senate to confirm the appointment of Magu as a substantive EFCC chairman on 2 different occasions. Meanwhile, Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose on Sunday fulfilled his promise to reward the recently released Finance Commissioner Toyin Ojo and the State Accountant General Yemisi Owolabi with new cars. The governor handed over the keys to new Kia Rio cars shortly after a Thanksgiving service to mark his third anniversary in office at the government house. The officials were released on Wednesday by EFCC after spending 14 days in the custody of the commission. They were quizzed for alleged mismanagement of state funds. Fauci said the duo deserve to be rewarded for enduring maltreatment, harassment, intimidation, and oppression from the EFCC, alleging that the arrest of the officials is illegal because only the State House of Assembly could raise questions about the Ekiti financial status. He added that the state government will sue EFCC for acting beyond its powers. Fauci reiterated that his government will conclude ongoing projects and pay outstanding salaries of workers. While inaugurating the fountain at the new Ikere-Ekiti roundabout, the governor commented on the choice of his deputy Olusola Kolapo as the governorship candidate for the People's Democratic Party in the 2018 election. He said, and I quote him, "I didn't choose Olusola, it was God speaking through his men that chose him. My choice is Kayode Osho, former commissioner for works, but I have to bow to God's choice by giving it to Olusola." Fauci promised to lay the foundation for Ikere Stadium and empower hundreds of their women and youth, urging the people to vote for their son, Olusola. And lastly, Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi, on Sunday declared the national coordinator of the Oodua People's Congress, Gani Adams, as the 15th Are Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba land. The position was held last by the late NKO Abiola, who died in the detention camp of the late military dictator General Sani Abacha in 1998 for refusing to trade his presidential mandate for freedom. In June this year, there was an indication that Adams would be named the new Generalissimo of Yoruba land by the monarch, but the OPC leader refused to confirm or deny the rumor. But Alaafin, who confirmed this in a chat on Sunday night, said that a letter of appointment has been issued to Adams during his 79th birthday celebration. That's Alaafin's birthday. Segun Akoni, who is the personal assistant to Adams, also confirmed the appointment Sunday evening. He quoted Adams as saying he's honored to be chosen for such an exalted position in Yoruba land. Well, reacting to the appointment, the founder of the OPC, Dr. Frederick Fasehun, on Sunday congratulated Adams. He pointed out that the Alaafin of Oyo has the right to bestow the title on anyone. Fasehun, who had a running battle with Adams for several years before it was finally resolved, urged the new Are Ona Kakanfo to behave true to his title. Another Yoruba elder statesman, Senator Femi Okuromo, however, said Adams is too young for the title. Okuromo, who represented the Osun Central Senatorial District between 1999 and 2003 in the Senate, said, although Adams has done a lot for the Yoruba nation, he still has a long way to go. The former lawmaker said most men who were bestowed with the title hardly ended well. He, however, wished Adams the best. But Afenifere chieftain Chief Ayo Adebanjo congratulated Adams, who he described as a true Yoruba son. Adebanjo dismissed claims that the people with the title do not end well, adding that it is time for the Yoruba nation to be united and support Adams. That's the much we can take today on News Right, our live broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Let's do this again tomorrow morning. But as promised, would post some of the news items on our timeline and, of course, news breaking. So let's do this again tomorrow, God willing. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good morning again.